Yes, thank you so much, Xolile. We have the newly appointed Secretary to Parliament, Mr. George. Thank you so much for your time. It's interesting that the guest before you were talking about that announcement that the Minister made on the 2 billion rand to rebuild Parliament. You've come in right when things are actually hot in Parliament. Your reaction to particularly that issue before we go into other matters that the Minister touched on?
Well, thank you very much, Artie. And thank you very much to Newzroom Afrika viewers. I think it's a huge relief for us as Parliament, given the fact that we are almost 2 months approaching the unfortunate anniversary. Next year it's 2nd January. So it's not an anniversary to celebrate. It will now be possible for the leadership of Parliament to tell South Africans exactly what are we planning to do to reconstruct and restore Parliament. So it's a huge relief, the allocation of this amount of more than 2 billion rand. And we look forward to start putting in place mechanisms for ensuring that we now have full capacity to start driving extensively the project planning for the reconstruction of Parliament, to start in earnest the detailed design of what must be done. We are quite pleased that also we will be taking the leadership of the actual work ourselves as Parliament. So it means we need to roll up our sleeves and start ensuring that the impact of these unfortunate incidents, we begin to minimize it. As you would know, members lost more than 495 offices, gutted down. The committee rooms of parliaments that were used for physical performance of oversight were completely gutted down. We now operate on a severe limited capacity in terms of physical work. Hence we resort to hybrid. And members are saying to us, as you would have seen in the start of this year, members were saying to us, when are we going back? COVID lockdown is now over. We want to perform our work under less restrictive conditions. So I have a duty as Secretary of Parliament to make sure that the allocation of this money, which we also welcome, even though it's not enough, the 118 million rand that Minister has allocated for us, to use it as unforeseen and unavoidable expenditure. It actually goes to us restoring those offices. For members, at least we begin to say to South Africans, this premier institution of our democracy is gradually taking shape, and this is what they will begin to visualize when there is pick and shovel on the ground to really look at what has been gutted down, and people begin to see that the old assembly and the new assembly is actually reconstructed. So we are happy on that front, but we will be able to say once we have detailed design, whether it actually costs that amount of money or it will cost more, given that some of these factors are not in our control in terms of exactly what it will cost us to finalize the detail of rebuilding Parliament. But we will look forward to do that.
I do want to let you go. I want you to answer me briefly here on the issue of Parliament working with the National Treasury. That's something even the President spoke about, and even the Minister today spoke about, insofar as oversight for, of course, the Zondo recommendations that came out.
Of course, as Parliament, we have now received the report that the President of the Republic has submitted formally to Parliament. Parliament will be able to set up its own processes in terms of how Parliament rules allow. So our dedicated committees are able to look at the report. As the administration of Parliament, we look at the implications of this report, what capacity is required, what resources to be able to make sure that in line with Parliament's mandate of oversight, what more needs to be done to make sure that some of the things that the Zondo report indicates, Parliament is able to implement fully and develop the right capacity to make sure that we have confidence of South Africans that this institution of them is able to discharge its obligation to lead the fight against corruption, fight against maladministration, but also to lead in holding those accountable, to be seen that they are held accountable, using the instruments of Parliament to the extent that laws must be reviewed, regulations, and Parliament must be able to enforce, through oversight, the monitoring of the wide-ranging implication of those reports, to make sure that the capacity of the state that has been hollowed out, that capacity is restored, and the capacity to execute is done in a manner that improves the image of our country.
There is a question that I want to throw to you with a developing story there in the U.S. Embassy, where there has been an alarm on security in Sandton at the U.S. Embassy. Has the Speaker or any authority here heard about these news at this stage?
I only saw on social media, and I am not aware of what is this all about. Whether it is real or not real, I don't know. I can't comment.
All right, thank you so much for your time. I see my colleague Xolile is standing by there with more reaction to the minister's speech. Xolile?